Good morning, Fred. First of all, let me say that to the best of my knowledge, there's about 5 or 6 things that you really need or that RCBS offered as a conversion for one of the original green machines. And there's a lot of bunk going on out there about what all they offered, but they offered a 9 and a 45, and I think they offered one other conversion, but the 9s and the 45s were the main ones. The 44 Magnum, I think, was the other. So first of all, the differences. Okay, so you have a 38 357 unit right now, and in that unit, the transfer bar, meaning this, is somewhat different. This piece here is different. It's much taller. And this piece is the same. But here is a complete, some of it used, the bars used, but the transfer pawls are used. These two parts up here are new. Okay, so that is your transfer bar. Transfers of cases, left to right. Now the next thing in the conversion kit was, now this is a block I made to do machining. So you're only looking at this top part here. And this is the transfer rails. So the front rail is a solid piece, this being the hole for your primer tube to go through. And the only difference that I can see in them is that, and you may not be able to see it, but this has a slight bevel for the rimless cartridges, like a 380, a 9, a 45, etc., 40 Smith & Wesson. Now, I built this very complicated block here so I could put it in my milling machine and actually grind these edges and etc. But after doing all that, on a 45, I found that the square existing transfer rails you have, both front and back, will function perfectly to move a 45 case, because in the case, this groove is so deep that the and it sets, you know, it does the pressures on the bottom of the rim down here. So actually your existing transfer rails will work fine. Now of course you have to move them, you have to spread them apart. Of course, starting with your front rail, you have to bring it out just a hair for the fatter case to go in. Now what you might want to do is try it first. Sometimes you get away with, if they're misadjusted to start with, just put empty cases in it and step them through your press. So I don't think you need these rails, which I don't have anyway. Alright, now these two parts are impossible to get a hold of, and both of these parts are brand new, and this is your powder through expander die, and you're not going to be able to see it because my lighting is so bad, but it's for a 45 auto. So this is a new original powder drop die, so your little powder dandy measures will fit as long as they have this type base on them with the hollow part here. Unbeknownst to a lot of people, they made about 3 different of these bases over the years of production. Alright, so this is the only one of these things I know that's in existence anyplace. And more scarce than that, here is a complete bullet cedar die assembly for a 45. Here's the original package, and this is the complete assembly, and includes the movable piece, all the clips and etc. And I really hate to get rid of it. I've had a lot of inquiries on it, and I've held off selling it, but I guess it getting to be my age, I don't really have any use for it. So, with that said, now the only other thing that you will have to do yourself is the primer seeder assembly. Yours has a small primer feed in it, and you will need to come up with one of these. All right, now this one will do you no good because this is for small primers. Now I see no reason that you couldn't, if you have a metal lathe, and it'll probably take carbide because most of this stuff is harder than the devil, you would have to bore the idea of this to about a thousandth or a thousandth and a half over the diameter of a large primer. And you might even get away with the existing cedar rod that's in it. In theory, you should make a new one that's a larger diameter, you know, to push the larger primer up. But I don't know that for a fact. I've always had the parts available to not have to replace or work on these, but I just don't have any more parts. So, and last but not least, and if you can't come up with one of them, let me see here if I can put my hands on one real quickly. You will need this primer transfer bar in large, and I don't think I have one. I've got this is an extra one in small, and I could, in a pinch, I could bore this out. I do have a carbide end mill of the right diameter, so we could give you this, but I would rather not get rid of it. But if we have to, we could. So with all that said, this is what you would need. This made into a large primer. I can't help you here. I'm going to keep this one as it is because I only have one green machine press left, and I would like to keep this for my own. So, if you're interested in all this, I'll have to try to put together a price. And I guess I don't know how to say this. I don't want to gouge you, but then on the other hand, if I list this stuff on eBay, it will go for a considerable amount of money. I'll get this posted to YouTube, and then you can either give me a call back or email me or whatever. Thank you.